From around the 8th to the late 4th centuries BCE, the Greek world consisted of around 1,000 city-states concentrated in the southern Balkan Peninsula and the Aegean, and spread over the coastlands of the Mediterranean and Black Seas. In these centuries, the archaic and classical periods that have been canonized as Greek civilization, this network of city-states was characterized by a close relationship with the sea, a fierce insistence on local autonomy, and a complicated interaction with a powerful, dominant, non-Greek imperial states of the Near East, Egypt, Babylonia, and from the 6th century, the Persian Empire. This all changed suddenly in 334 BCE, when Alexander the Great, the young king of Macedonia, steered his flagship across the Hellespont and from its prow threw a spear onto the beach of Troy. With this symbolic act of invasion, a deliberate emulation of the Homeric heroes, he launched his campaign of conquest across the Near East, North Africa, Central Asia, and northern India. Alexander's campaign is one of the best understood and most densely studied moments in all antiquity, and it has been turned in some complex and often pernicious ways into the archetypal case of the European man going east, of the triumphal and heroic conquest of Hellenism over a supine Asia. These offer the ancient historian three usefully different scenarios of Greco-Macedonian imperialism. In Macedonia, Alexander's own homeland, we find the Antigonid kingdom, shown in red. This was basically a monocultural Hellenic sphere, its kings slotting themselves into the long institutional tradition of Macedonian national monarchy. In Egypt, yellow, the Ptolemaic dynasty running from Ptolemy I to the famous Cleopatra VII. This dynasty ruled a bicultural, Janus-faced kingdom of Greeks and Egyptians, centered on the new capital of Alexandria, and its rulers worked to fit themselves into the ancient pharaonic paradigm of kingship. And finally, the kingdom which is my focus, the Seleucid Empire, in green, multicultural, or perhaps better, hydra-headed. Over the course of the 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, each of these kingdoms would be defeated by the expansion of the Roman Republic, relentless as a tectonic plate. First Macedonia, then Asia, finally Egypt. The historical period of these three great kingdoms is known as the Hellenistic Age. It's one of the most thrilling moments in all ancient history. From the perspective of classics, the spatial frame of Greek history suddenly and rapidly explodes from the coastlands of the Mediterranean to Central Asia, the Sudan, India, and the borders of China. Near Eastern history and Greek history become the same project. There's a greater urgency to all forms of cultural and intellectual interaction between the Greek world and former neighbors, now subjects. The dominant form of Greek government becomes territorial monarchy, not city-state democracy. Anatolia, including important Greek city-states on its western coast, and eventually also the Levant, so Lebanon, Israel, the Palestinian territories. Second foundational characteristic, and quite a bizarre one actually, the Seleucid kingdom was ruled by a dynasty and an imperial elite who came from Greece and Macedonia, who spoke Greek and who privileged Hellenic cultural forms. Yet, their Greco-Macedonian homeland lay outside the kingdom's territories. It was a kind of imperialism of diaspora, for which it's hard to find a close parallel. It would be like imagining British India without Britain. These clay ceilings have been excavated in their thousands from Seleucid archives. Each of these clay seal impressions, which are called bullae, bears on its surface the seals of public administration alongside personal seals of the private individuals who were engaged in the economic activity once documented within. The number of separate seal impressions on a single clay bulla ranges from 2 to 40, so some documents had sort of 40 signatures on them. In other words, these clay bullae trace the institutionalized encounters between empire and subjects. Over half of them, around 16,000, prominently bear a standardized impression of a Seleucid era year date. The shape, size, and content of these seals are uniform across Babylonia. Ovoid impressions with short sides and slightly curving longer edges, carrying a 3 or 4 line Greek inscription. So to give just one example, The one in colour at the centre of the screen, the stamp's top line identifies the sealed document, which has now been destroyed, as relating to the salt tax, tax on salt trade, halekes in Greek. Bottom line names the fiscal authority, the royal city of Seleucia on the Tigris, on the river Tigris, which I'll talk about shortly. And at the centre of the seal, in a much larger script, is the year number in Greek alphabetic numbers, Itaxai, the year 68.